Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good
Hello.
morning. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I want to see oh, that's even better. Oh my gosh. I'm excited. I could cry. I'm having coffee on a Friday morning with some of my besties in the whole world. It's amazing. Show me your cups. I want to see all your cups. All right. Okay, Hannah, you got to be first up. So you've got the H mug. It matches your shirt. So what's up with your mug? And let's just talk about why it's special to you. Oh, we got to unmute you. Oh, there you go. Can I hear you?
No.
No, we can't. Let's figure this out. Guys, Hannah's going to figure it out because she's the genius. And while she's doing that, I just want to welcome everyone to our very first episode of The Kitchen Table. And this has been a dream of mine. Oh, I'm going to get emotional for a while. As a natural health care practitioner, as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, I don't really make time for coffee dates. And when I do, they're pretty much business coffee dates. And the very few times that I do have coffee with a good friend, I leave feeling so on fire, so blessed, so loved, so excited that I'm like, why don't I do it more? Right? And I think, man, like there was a time when ladies used to get together, right? We used to have coffee together at least once a week. And we would, talk about recipes and kids and work and husbands and girl problems. And so I'm so excited that you guys get to do that with me today. So I want to start off while Hannah's figuring out the mic situation. I want to start off by introducing some of the lovely ladies that are having coffee with me this morning. And I have my beautiful younger sister, Robin, who's joining us from Leduc, Alberta. And how exciting is that she gets to have coffee with me, like in this amazing platform. And Robin, I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about who you are. And let me see, what's a good question for you? How are you doing it, being kind of on shutdown with two kids? A husband who works away, and you've got your own entrepreneurial business. So tell us a bit about yourself and what's going on in your life.
Well, right now we're all still kind of wrapping our heads around everything that's happening here. It's kind of went from a topic on TV real life. It feels like we're walking around in a movie sometimes, but we're doing all right. The kids actually think this is pretty awesome, except for they can't really see their friends. That's the only downside. But again, there's now Messenger and stuff like that where they can have the video conference calls and stuff. Not quite. It's gas. So as far as managing, I'm actually finding it fairly simple. I work from my home. I do a lot of home time. It's not really big of a change. Um, my husband is actually home now, so so again, he was just working in the bush 3 months, in living in a trailer, just working with a handful of guys all winter. So he was already prepped for this as well. The only unnormal thing, I guess, for us is to go into the grocery store and see the the shelves empty and people wearing gloves and masks, and that's where you kind of see the panic. When you leave your house, first off, you don't really see anything that's happening, but when you start to enter the stores and stuff, then it becomes a different world.
Yeah, right. You're right. You don't really know what's going on. And, I'm not really buying into the fear. I'm quite calm. I'm used to dealing with health crises. And where it gets real is when you walk into the grocery store and it seems weird. Like what you're used to seeing isn't there. You've got like whatever random stuff on the shelves. A lot of the shelves are empty here, and it gives you a really weird feeling, right? It's kind of like a little bit of insecurity, I think, because you don't know. And I don't know about you, but it caused me to go, maybe I should load up on a few extra groceries in case they're not there next week. And so, Hannah, I see you nodding emphatically. So tell me a little bit um, about what life is like in Saskatoon for you, because you guys just really moved there. You've not been there very long. So tell us who you are, and as a younger person, coming on 25 years old, what does this feel like for you?
Can you hear me now?
You can.
Okay, good. Just to be sure. Yeah, it's weird. We were up north for. I was there for a year and a half. I opted out, but Jeffrey has been up there for a full 2 years, and we just moved down officially a couple of weeks ago. Jeff made the full move down, so we're both down here, and it's really funny that we went from being in isolation to now being in isolation, but in a city. So it's just a little bit, it's interesting, especially being that, we've just moved to a new city, so we don't know a whole bunch of people. It's kind of hard. You feel very limited. Nobody's making friends right now, so you're really just stuck in your house and trying to keep a distance from everybody else. And it's just been a weird shift. I walk our dogs twice a day, and I'm used to, the rush hour walk where everybody's flying down 8th Street. And Jeff and I, for the last 2 weeks, have just thought it's dead, like silent. There's nobody outside. Well, on the weekends, there are people outside, desperate to get out of their houses, but it's just, there's nobody out. There's nobody around. It's a ghost town. It feels very lonely a little bit. Yeah, and nobody wants to touch anybody. You go into the grocery store and people are, keeping their distance. I sniffled, God forbid, at the convenience store last week, and a woman flew down the other aisle. So, yeah, it's just a weird world we're in right now.
So you said something really interesting, because maybe many people don't know, but your soon-to-be husband is RCMP, and you guys were on a limited time posting, which means you were in the north, pretty much as far as the road goes north in Saskatchewan, and so you actually were isolated there. So what is the difference? Because you're coming out of, well, more than a year and a half, like a year and 8 months or so of being isolated, but yet connected. So what's the difference? Really, what's the difference between living way up north in a community of isolation versus being on mandated isolation?
It's a strange difference. Because you're on isolation, but you still feel accessible here. Like if I want, Jeffrey, for example, yesterday, he wanted to make chicken Alfredo, and we didn't have all of the ingredients. So it was very easy to pop down to the store and fulfill that craving, that need. there, as much as we're in isolation down here, there's still, and I think a lot of people are taking it for granted in the city, that there's still the ability to have that instant gratification. Whereas when you're actually isolated, in an isolated post like we were in, there isn't that accessibility. It's maybe the gas station will have it, maybe the gas station won't, probably not. We've bought vegetables there before that a little bit questionable, but when you need fresh produce, you need fresh produce. Like for us to go to the grocery store, it was like an event. It took an hour and a half there, drive and back, on a dirt road that, I mean, you were on that road. It wasn't very safe, especially in the wintertime. Me and another of the spouses up there, we used to make a plan to like go into the city. It was like a thing. And I mean, the city was Flin Flon, Manitoba, not a huge city. So I think the thing that people take for granted in this kind of situation is that, like, yes, you're in isolation. Yes, you're, staying in your house a little bit more, but you're not unsafe. Like, you can still go outside, go for a walk. Like for us, we couldn't always do that. Like you can't just pick up and go outside at any given time of the day like I can here. Like I've gone for walks here at 10:30 at night. I feel perfectly safe, street lights, there's people around. And then up there, like, you're putting your life into your hands when you make decisions like that, especially when you're an RCMP family. It's not always the best thing. And as much as you try to make connections with people in the community, it's hard. So, yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes me laugh, and say, one of the other spouses and we're laughing kind of about the situation right now where everybody's freaking out that they're in their houses. We're like, we've been preparing for this for years, so not too much for us.
It's so true, and it makes me remember. I think my sissy remembers this the most. Once upon a blue moon, when I first got married, we moved to Grand Cache. And Grand Cache is in the Rocky Mountains in pretty much the middle of nowhere. And in fact, it's so creepy almost because you're driving on this super dangerous road. And once you live there, you know that you are never supposed to drive on this road at night. And here we were. Ashley was 10 months old and we're going up, for his job interview. And I'm thinking, this is really weird because, there's the road and the cliff and there's no people, there's no lights, there's like nothing. And all of a sudden you come around this bend on the mountain and there's the town, like literally just nestled inside this mountain. And what was really fascinating is, it's an industry town, right? There was mining, coal mining, sawmill. There was the jail there. And that was really what people did. And on the weekends, people like evacuated, like the town became a ghost town because people felt so isolated and so distanced from any type of civilization that people would just flee. It was this mass exodus. And it was funny because during the week, if someone had to go to civilization, they would be like taking orders for like McDonald's. I mean, bringing back Big Macs that were 2 hours old. It was crazy town, right? And so this is really a different perspective about being in your house, but yet safe. And so I want to talk to Pam about this a little bit because my friend Pam, we've known each other for a few years and we've had a journey together. And Pam and I met under challenging health circumstances. Give me a nod, Pam, if it's okay if I share just a teeny tiny bit. Okay, I'm going to mute you anyways. So, I can't unmute you because you've chosen to mute yourself.
You can share whatever you like.
So Pam and I met under some health crises where Pam was diagnosed with some cancer. And, she's had this amazing journey. And something that's fascinating to me is, Pam, recently you chose to go to Cancun because there's an amazing cancer clinic there, Hope for Cancer, that was part of your treatment. And you went there like very recently. And now you are actually on basically a mandated quarantine because you had been out of the country during the crises, have come back recently. And it's even more strange for you because you came home, but you didn't come home to your home because you have to be isolated. And so tell me what that feels like, because you were away, you came home, and you're not even with your family. You're in someone else's house, your travel partner. You're isolated. You want to celebrate with the world your awesome news. I want to hear like all about it and how it feels to be on lockdown, right? But yet you're so close to home, but so far away.
I know it feels strange. I think we all can feel like we're in a dream because it's this new normal, but how long is this normal? What is this new normal? We don't know the parameters of this new normal. What are, how long is this going to last, etc. I feel discombobulated, but at the same time, because I'm so limited, everything's so simple at the same time. Yes, I miss my family dearly. I haven't had a chance to physically hug my husband and celebrate being back and just getting back home. It got a little wonky just as I made the travel arrangements to go. It was all last minute. I had a great opportunity that just opened up to me and I said yes. Then it got wonky as we were away. Thankfully, we were on one of the last flights back in. Was last Saturday overnight. So yeah, I'm overall, I feel grateful because I guess I'm going to things that I learned in my recovery about taking one day at a time. So similar to when you have experienced isolation, Hannah, there's certain things that are familiar to you, like I've done this before in this flavor and I just adjust it to this. So for me, it's about, I'm grateful that there's a blue sky today. I'm grateful that I still have a safe environment to exist. I'm grateful that I'm home safe, that my family's safe. I'm grateful for all of the work that's going on around me. I'm grateful. I still feel, if I want to sit there and think about how much I miss my family, of course I can get emotional and I miss, and I do have sadness, and it's not about, just ignoring it or anything. It's just that I'm sadness, but I have sadness, but I accept it. It's okay because it's short term. There's people that are going through that haven't seen their family for a lot longer than me, that are working around the clock to keep us going as a society. All our heroes out there. So I can do my part. My part's doable. As well as, I have so many things. Like, I'm just so excited to be back in touch with people here back. I was really happy. I was grateful to get home. Was one of my underlying fears that I was, trying not to let get, to get the better of me, to be into worry. I can have a concern, but I don't want it to be worry or panic, So it was about, oh my gosh, I don't want to have any symptoms by the time, I'm trying to go, what if they don't let me on the plane? What if I get stuck here? What if I get whatever? And I had kind of packed extra stuff, but you still don't, the joke was, well, if we're going to be, stuck behind, we'll be on a beach and whatever. But the reality is you want to come home. You want to come home to where your family is, to where what the structure is that's going to support you. As nice as the beach is, this is my home. I want to come home. So I just wanted to be able to get on the plane and then cross the border at the other side. I had no idea what kind of measures were going to be there. In fact, it was kind of I was kind of disappointed at the same time, as it was a good for us to get through. It was pretty easy, but at the same time, we're like, okay, that was really easy. That was, but at this, it still worked beautifully. And yeah, it was about, Hannah, you mentioned sneezing outside. So I can get seasonal allergies and things like that. And it was kind of nutty down there. And I was completely, like, oh my gosh, and sneezing and whatever. And now there's a cat here. So I have, my allergies are having a heyday, but keeping up with them with my stuff here, but for the most part. But now I can, like, if I need to sneeze, I can sneeze. In fact, if I'm in the window, I'm like, I feel like saying to the neighbors, it's okay, I'm just allergies, but I don't know. But anyway, I feel fine. I just have allergies, but I have not experienced outside yet. So I'm in my own little bubble. So I have an advantage that way, I think, because I haven't had the reality of that, going out in the store, seeing the shelves, seeing the plexiglass, seeing maybe terror or fear on people. And, I haven't experienced that yet. And I feel for everyone. And I really, I'm so encouraged by so many people just, trekking along and just doing it, coming together as a community. And, but there's a lot of people, my heart goes out to the people that are feeling double isolated. They're already feeling isolated. It was already tough for them to reach out, and they might feel even more isolated now, because our mind can do that. It can start flipping things around, that everything is really isolated. Meanwhile, their circumstance is exactly the same as it was before. They just, they felt isolated. Now they feel extra isolated, which we're not. But I do feel for those people that have extenuating circumstances for whatever reason. And, I want to be part of that community too, that's been rising up and wants to reach out. So you mentioned my news. So this is a great time to share the news when I come home, but at the same time, it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's great news because at any time, because life still goes on. There's still people that are getting diagnosis of cancer. There's still people that are trying to figure out, how do they have their health appointments? Can they go? Can they even go out if they have their immune system is not rebuilt yet, etc. So to those people, I want to share a little bit. I don't know how much. I don't know. I'm going to take up the whole time, but basically, in summary, in almost 4 years ago now, Roxanne, it was April 2016. I was diagnosed with colon cancer. It was stage 2. In June, when I went, I chose to do non-toxic therapy. The same day that I had my diagnosis with an oncologist that I just met that day was the same day I had my follow-up appointment with Doc Rox, who I had just happened to have that appointment. So I went from one method to another method in the same day. And Roxanne very lovingly just wrote literally on just a corner of a piece of paper, the formula, that she knows it, and that scientific of beating cancer. I know it's not as simple as this formula, but because it was broken down into such a simple thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is doable. There's a lot of work to do that. It's like starting out at a gym. But she pointed me towards Hope for Cancer, and I ended up being able to go. That's a whole other story. So in June, I went in 2016. They found 2 swollen lymph nodes. I did non-toxic treatment. I did no chemotherapy, no radiation. In the end of that year, I had a second surgery. I had a first one, had a second one, and they found 2 positive lymph nodes. So it's technically stage 3. I believe it's those 2 they found in June. So fast forward, I had the surgeries, had some bladder injury, blah, 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 blah. Been going back for follow-ups of that. I finally got back to Hope for Cancer. I was supposed to go back in 3 months and twice within the year, and I never got to go back. So I had this opportunity to go back and get checked. Unfortunately here, because I didn't get on the conveyor belt, like I say, they don't really know what to do with me. So I didn't really have follow-ups. I had a scope with my doctor a year after that surgery, and she said, see you in 3 years. I asked my family doctor, could I have some follow-up tests? And she goes, oh, you're having some blood work. She's amazing. She's amazing. She said, you're having some blood work and they're just checking levels, you know, when you go in for your bladder checkups and everything. Did I mention I had colon cancer? So, yeah, so I'm like, okay, but I really want that in depth, because Hope for Cancer goes really in depth. And since I wasn't getting anything here, I really, really, really wanted to go back. So I just went back, and my ultrasound from my neck to my thighs is clean, 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 clean. Yeah, clean. And my blood work was really healthy. There's a little bit more to check on the bladder because I've had these bladder issues from surgery injury. I'm confident that that's all it is. But the doctor's straight out, you know, he's saying it could be cancer, but usually it is, you know, bladder issue infection. And I said, well, I've had all these issues, so we're going to have a CT scan here at home when I can. But yeah, but the thing is, there's everything in my blood otherwise is healthy where it should be, where it hasn't been in I don't know how long, certainly not before that. I've been feeling better than I have in years and years and years. And so it was just a great validation, as I said to Roxanne, and I've said many times, it's like having that toilet paper on your shoe when you're fighting a fear that you don't want. And people that have been sick or had, you know, especially cancer, and you're like, is it coming back? Do I still have it? Because it's not about the tumor. It's just because the tumor's gone doesn't mean your cancer's all gone. But we use that because we want something to, you know, and obviously if there is a tumor, it's a very big symptom. So it doesn't mean my work is done. It doesn't mean that I'm like, yahoo, I don't have to think about this ever again. No. Yeah. I still have to rebuild and keep going with my health, and I have to activate my immune system so it reacts better, or I'll be back where I was before. But the thing is, I have a really good start right now. Yeah. So that's my celebration, and I've been on a mission for over the last 2 years. I've been, you know, working on something that's very special to me that I want to share with people about my story, and it's called Happy Cells. So we can talk about that another time, but so
I think that's brilliant, Pam, because, you know, especially in this weird season that everyone's in, I mean, you hit the nail on the head that, you know, health really is not the absence of, you know, a tumor or a sickness or a disease. I mean, it's something that we have to do every day. We have to look at our health and wellness on a daily basis. And what are we doing every day to make sure that we are healthy, that we're strong, that our immune system is strong, that we're strong mentally, emotionally, that we're strong spiritually. And it's something that people have really have lost touch of. We literally feel like we're okay unless we have a diagnosis. And even now, when people have diagnoses, they think it's normal. Because, you know, in my clinic, people come in and they're clearly coming to see me for a reason. But on their intake form, they write down nothing, no health concerns, no nothing. And then I see this like litany of medications that they're on, and I'm like, whoa. So, I mean, you got stuff going on. And the response is, yeah, but I have a pill for that. And I'm like, okay, but what happens when you stop taking the pill for your arthritis or your fibromyalgia or your depression or whatever it is? And they're like, oh, yeah, like as soon as I don't take it, oh my gosh, like I have to take it. And I'm like, okay, so it's not fixing the problem. Like there are things that we have to do. And so I want to ask Robin a couple of questions about this, because Robin, you've recently really got on board with your health and wellness. And there's been a number of things that you've changed in your life. I think in part because you were maybe forced to, because of how you were feeling and random things. So just talk to me about what's your perspective now on health and wellness, versus where it was, like even a year ago or 2 years ago?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. You were saying?
I said, so tell me about, your health and wellness journey, because you've made some pretty huge changes in your life in the past couple of years. And what does that look like for you, like now versus a year ago or 2 years ago? And why the changes, and why now? Like, what is your perspective on health now?
Well, what really happened is that after my son had passed away in 2016, my health started to deteriorate. I guess my body's response to dealing with the trauma of it was to shut down internally. Um, I wasn't aware of this. It was a slow process, but it did eventually get to the point where I was aware that my throat was sore continuously. Was pretty lethargic. I was gaining a bunch of weight for no reason. It wasn't like all of a sudden I started my feeling or changing my eating style to eat a bunch of garbage. It was just everything was kind of slowing down, and my body was not processing what I was eating, and the rest wasn't restful for me. Um, so I did go to the doctor numerous times, and I kept complaining and complaining, and I just kept saying, feel it's swollen, and he's like, well, I don't really feel anything, and kept going back, and he'd give me different pills, and I'd try that, and I'd go back again, and he was very perplexed with me. He basically tried to say that it was acid reflux, and I had a food allergy, and stress, which I knew stress was a major contributor to a lot of the stuff that was going on at the time. But I wanted to feel well, as everybody does. It's a very scary thing when you wake up one day and you have a sore throat. You're not so afraid. I'm getting a little bit sick, but when it continues on for months and months, and all of a sudden you're looking at a year, you do know your body, and you do realize that there is something very wrong, that and of course you get that fear of, is it cancer, is it what is it, there's something going on. So at the end, he actually sent me, finally, after numerous requests, sent me to an ears, nose, and throat doctor. The doctor didn't even actually want to do the scope or anything on me. He just told me that I didn't have cancer and I had acid reflux. But after insisting that the camera down my throat anyways, and just check what was going on, he did see that there was a lot of blistering and stuff that was in the throat and whatever else. So he said, it's not cancer, not to worry. It's still acid reflux. Prop your bed up, change your diet, do these kind of things, and you'll feel better. Well, I did those things and I did not feel better. Plus, I took his medication that was very, very expensive. And anyways, went back to the doctor for my 6-week checkup, and said I wasn't any better, any different. So the doctor at that time had then given me a major I don't know what the word would be. It's for allergies, but it's when you have a major allergy and you can take it right away. And he had me on that for 7 days to try and take the inflammation and de-trigger this response that was going on in my body. And I was about 3 days into this medication, and I woke up one morning and I was laying there in bed, and I hadn't moved now yet. I just kind of opened my eyes, and I felt as soon as I opened my eyes that something was wrong. And wasn't quite sure what it was, but I thought something isn't right. And I got up, and it was like, I don't know if you've ever had sleep paralysis, where you think that you're asleep but you're awake and you feel all tingly and whatever. That's how I kind of felt. And the shower, and I tried to lift my hands up to wash my hair, and my whole body was tingling and numb, and I was scared. I thought that I was having a stroke. The only thing that kept me going was that I was alone in the house with my children. I had 2 children here, and I did not want to frighten them. So I forced myself to be okay. I forced myself to get out of the shower, to dry myself off, and actually, even literally, yes, as I look back now, it was a bad decision on my part, but get into them to school. The only reason I did that was because I knew that I had a doctor's appointment at 9 a.m. And I went straight into the doctor's office. I was the first appointment, so he saw me right away. And he told me that I was sweating. I was almost in tears, actually tears welling in my eyes, telling him that I was having this stroke or something was severely wrong with me. And he didn't check any of my vitals or do anything, a stroke, and that I needed to calm down, and if I was upset about the medication, just to discontinue it. So I walked out to the doctor's office, very upset, felt very unheard, and I made that decision. When I went home, I threw everything in the garbage. I had so many pills. I didn't even remember what half of them were for anymore, and I threw them all, even though the cost was in the hundreds, probably thousands of dollars in all this medication. I threw it all in garbage, and I said, okay, God, it's me and you. Tell me what I need to do. And I did nothing. I did zero to my body. I let my body calm down, work everything out. Of course, I phoned my sister. She told me I needed to detox my system. My system was on overload, and it was having a response to all this medication that I was on. And I just started talking to her about what kind of oils, how can I heal myself naturally? How can I go on this wellness path? And I know that my body is designed to heal itself and to cure itself if you give it the right things. So she was a big instrument in that. She led me on the right path. But, there's only much my sister can say or do for me. I had to want to do it. I had to want the change. I know how I felt on the pharmaceuticals, and I know that there are a place in this world for those things, and people do rely on that kind of medication. But I went from being a person that barely took an Advil, even if I had a headache, just was not a drug taker at all, to all of a sudden in a year's time being on a whole gambit of stuff, and my body literally freaked out, and I realized that was not for me, that this was poisoning myself even bigger or more than what was going on initially with the sore throat and the tiredness and the weight gain and whatever else. So I really at that point took a deep look into myself and decided that no longer would I would listen to the advice, obviously, of medical professionals, but I would more listen to my own body, my sister, and the guidance of God, and just let myself heal naturally. And obviously taking with a grain of salt that if something was to go sideways or even more wrong, obviously I would not be foolish. I would take myself into a hospital or go and see a doctor. But we're almost immediate. The next couple of weeks to a month, I was already feeling better. Though the thyroid was an issue and a concern for me, so I've needed to still work on that part of it, but the sore throat went away. My body felt normal. I was getting good rest again. And that was my change. That was my aha moment, my light bulb moment, my God knocking on my head saying, wake up, so yeah, that was my journey. That was my deciding factor. Then when I literally left the doctor in fear, because I honest to goodness thought that I was having a stroke or some kind of response to all this medication that was happening, and he nothing for me. So I knew that I had to take my health, my life, everything into my own hands and seek a more natural way of things. So
that's amazing. And I just, I praise God for you, for your story. really for the knock, right? Because I think so many people out of fear, they don't respond, and it's more and more and more medications, and it overwhelms the system. And I love what you said about, I could tell you certain things to do, but I couldn't do them for you. And I heard the best quote ever, and says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right? We all know that. But then the person said, but you can feed them crackers, right? And if you eat enough crackers, you're going to feel thirsty and you're going to drink. And so, I think you had a lot of crackers with all those medications, and you just, enough was enough. And so, ladies, you can always jump in and ask questions, but Hannah, I saw you nodding emphatically a few times when Robin was talking. So do you have something to add to what she was saying? Because I know you've had some similar challenges with the health profession, or do you have questions, or what do you want to add to that? Because you've also changed your health and wellness, and and your thought process on that as well.
All right. Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of power that we give to our minds that can really make huge, impactful changes on our body and our health and our wellness, mentally, physically, all of this stuff. And I was just agreeing with that. It's funny how doctors really just want to symptomatically treat, so that it's almost like we just stop talking. They're like, just give up, just shut up, be better. They don't actually want to get to the root of the issue. They don't want to figure out what's going on. They just sort of want to just treat at face value and make you feel better. And we just take it and we run with it. And a few years ago in university, I was diagnosed with a panic disorder, which was a really scary label. It essentially means that I was, going, and I still deal with it today, but I was going through a period of time where I would have panic attacks that would trigger syncope. So I would just fall asleep. Like I would just blackout, couldn't remember anything. And it was really shocking. And Jeff and I were only, recently together. So he was terrified with what was going on. And my doctor, she was wonderful. She was great. But again, Western medicine, all she knew to do was just put me on medication. And I blindly nodded my head along because she was telling me that I was disordered. And I thought, yeah, I'm disordered. I should take the medications. The doctors know what they're talking about. And I took it. And the first 2 weeks were okay. And the next couple of months, I was like, yeah, no, I guess I'm feeling better. I'm not, fainting as much. And my anxiety seems to be a little bit better. And then it was just, I started questioning a lot in that time, where I was like, is this how everybody feels? Like just this like mutedness. And I thought that was normal, and I was accepting it. And then I started feeling it and really, coming to terms with it, and actually acknowledging the fact that like, this is kind of sad if this is what everybody else is feeling, because I'm not feeling anything. I was existing. Everything, like when I wanted to be happy, it was like a here happy. When I was happy, it used to be here. When I was sad, it was here sad. And when it was sad, it used to be down here. And I thought, like, is it worth it? And I felt so muted and nothingness that, it led me to think horrible things and question a lot of things. And I went through a super rough time in England. I had to study abroad for 2 months, and I didn't know how to feel because I wasn't feeling anything. And I thought that must be like depression. I was getting depressed again or something. And like, I just was in such a dark place. And one day, and it was unfortunate, I only realized it, about 2 weeks before I left England, because I could have enjoyed my experience a lot more. But about 2 weeks before I left England, I thought to myself, all I can do right now is not take this medication and see if this makes it better. That's all I can do. I couldn't go to the doctor. I couldn't, I wasn't near my family. I wasn't near my friends. I just threw them all out. I left all this medication. I said, no more. And, my doctor was shocked. She was horrified when I came home and I told her that. She's like, how, you can't do that. That's such a high dose. You can't be doing that. That's so dangerous. You don't know what could have happened. And I said, you know what happened? Took 3 days for me to detox. And then I felt immediately better. Immediately. Because it's funny how quickly Western medicine, and I don't want to blame all Western medicine, there's some wonderful things that come out of science and, we can be eternally grateful for, but they just want you to shut up about the immediate problem, and they don't care about the long-term effects, and they want to label you as disordered. They don't want you, they just want to tell you that you're wrong and they're right. And I think that we need to embrace our not normal. Being not normal does not mean that you're not normal. It's your normal. And accepting that is it will relieve such a weight off your shoulders. And accepting that however you are today, regardless of, whether you're up or you're down or you're just in between, it's you and it's how you feel. And that will give you more power over your life than I think any medication ever could.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing. It's funny how all four of us are so different, right? We've got different lives. We live in different corners of Canada. Yet I think, each of us has wrestled and struggled with, anxiety and sadness and health issues, and how for each of us, we kind of had this moment, this wake up moment where it was like, oh my gosh, I need to do something. I need to make a choice to get up every day. I need to make a choice to feel better. I need to do something, and I'm not going to rely on someone else telling me what to do. And that is crucial. That is what I mean by saying, engage your wellness. You've got to make a stand for yourself. You've got to make a choice for what you want out of this life. Guys, we get one go round, right? And we got to make it awesome every day. And there's so much in my life where, there were days that I would wake up and just be like, you know what? It would probably be better if I wasn't here, because look at the stress that I'm, putting my family under, because I'm so crippled and I'm in so much pain and I'm just angry and sad all the time, right? And I wouldn't say it wasn't that I wanted to end my life. I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to get in my car and I'm just going to keep on freaking driving. And I'm just going to disappear so that I'm not this burden anymore, right? And then it came to me, what the what, right? I woke up today and I'm breathing. And so that means I'm alive, which means that it's got to be a great day, that God has chosen for me to live one more day, right? God has chosen for me to show up one more day. And to, make a difference in somebody's life in some way. And so I really feel like our only option is, thank you, Jesus, I'm alive, right? And it doesn't matter what the symptoms are. It doesn't matter what the doctors are saying. Jesus, I'm alive, right? Because no one's promised tomorrow. And so it's amazing to me how fearful people are about tomorrow, when, God's word says that today's trouble's enough for today, right? Just deal about what you got going on today, right? And I think if we can show up as our most authentic self every day, that we're giving light to someone in some moment of the day. And I think that each of you are brilliant in that you've discovered something about your uniqueness of being chosen to be alive and how you can truly be you in this world and show up as you. And, it's funny because I'll make it super short, but Pam had the same challenge. She kept going to the doctor saying, there's something wrong with me. And they were just sending her home. And they, the tests were, whatever. And I remember, she was at my clinic and I just said, you are just going to emergency and you're not leaving until they do A, B, and C. You just refuse to leave. And, and so she did. She refused to leave until they did the proper assessment. And so I think sometimes, we have to be our own best advocate. And so I want to get ready to close up our chat here, but I see there's some really interesting questions. And I don't know who wants to take this question on. I think that all of us are equally able to answer this question. So just wave at me if you want this question. But Janice is asking, how do I manage the stress around me? Who wants, oh yeah, Pam's like, pick me. Okay, so Pam, in 2 minutes or less, what's the best advice that you would give to Janice about managing the stress around?
First of all, I just want to acknowledge that the common theme underlying all of these things that happen in our body is our emotions, is our emotional health. And so when we can get to the root of what's going on emotionally, it's going to help to release and heal the things that need to be healed. So when it comes to anxiety and stress, what can I do to take care of the stress around me? There's two things that come to mind. I'm not sure if you're talking about how do I manage my own stress of everything that's going around me, or how do I help the stress around me be less? So number one is I can only look after myself today. If I am responsible for someone else, I can take care of myself so that I am not putting any extra stress or demands on that person. I need to look after my own stresses so that I can look after my responsibilities of looking after my animals, after my children, after somebody in my care. But I can only look after myself first. And when I look after myself first, it's very much like the airplane mask. It's not about not caring about other people. It's about, what do I need to do? So the first thing that I did was I got to have today. So gratefulness. Gratefulness is so key. When it seems like everything is crashing down, there's things that we can grab onto to be grateful for. And you have to. You have to be able to be grateful for any little thing, anything. It could be just tiny, but there's lots of miracles every day. The fact that you woke up is a gift. So it's like Roxanne was saying, when I wake up, the way that I say it is I woke up. So I've already won. When I get out of bed and I'm vertical, then I've taken back my day. So I wake up, I win my day. I get up, I take back my day. So if you're moving around the house, you're already taking back your day. You have a lot of choices. It's all about choices. The other thing is figure out what you can control and let go of the things you can't. We cannot take care of all the unknowns. That's where I just give that up. Like, okay, you take care of that. And what do I take care of? Oh, I have the choice of what I can eat today. I have the choice of what I can do today. So just concentrate on what you can control. Be grateful, concentrate on what you can control, and be mindful of the pointy finger voice. That's the one that tells you you're not good enough, the one that doubts things, the one that, I can't believe you spilled that again. That, being aware of that is key. Once you start to be aware of that, then you can start negating it. It's a lie. It's not the gentle, loving voice that somebody around you that would give you. A friend lift up, that gentle voice that you can do it. That's the one you want to listen to. We usually quiet that one down because the pointy finger voice really gets in there real easy when we're distracted, when we're overwhelmed. That pointy finger voice is key. Gratefulness, what can I control? And that pointy finger voice is a lie. So you want to listen to the soft, loving voice. Those are the top 3 that I would say.
That's awesome. The one thing that I'm going to add to this is I love moving your body. So when you move your body, you change your mood, right? And so think about when you're not feeling good and you're overwhelmed and you're stressed, you start to close in, right? All of your body language is a shut down, almost like a self-protection cocoon, right? And so when we're feeling stressed, we gotta shake it, right? We've got to move it, and that's something that people, when they're stressed and overwhelmed, they stop doing, right? And so I learned this from Rachel Hollis. The Rachel Hollis went to her amazing live Rise Toronto event, and she does something frequently throughout her events, so much so that it's ingrained into your persona, so that if you are feeling down or tired or bored or depressed or angry or sad or whatever, overwhelmed, anxious, you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 yourself, right? And so really it's honestly so much fun. It's unbelievable. So you're like, oh my gosh, what's my posture right now? And then you literally count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you shoot out of your chair like a freaking rocket and you dance your butt off. You put some tunes on, right? And you're just like, yeah. And you would not believe the freedom in that. Guys, I did this publicly at the grocery store last weekend. So I was in there. It was like psycho nuts. And, there was these 2 people just chatting in the aisle, and this elderly woman came in and she just started going off about how dare these people be in the aisle talking and they're blocking the row and she can't get around. And I was like, what? And so I could hear the music. And so I said to her, you know what? I'll move out of your way. And then I just started dancing to the music and people were looking at me and I'm like, you should join me. It's so much fun. But it made a huge difference. Even though none of those 3 people joined me, they all wanted to. They all wanted to.
I think we should do that now.
We should do that now. And so I have the song ready to go. And so ladies, put your coffee cup down because you're going to have to shoot out your chair like a rocket when I tell you, when we get to 1, all right? I don't know how well the sound will come through, but trust me, it's going to be awesome. And it's just going to be a few seconds. And then we're going to close in prayer and it's going to be amazing. Ladies, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah! Too much fun. So guys, I love you so much. Let's just have a quick word of prayer. Thank you for joining us on our coffee hour. So Father, in the name of Jesus, I just speak life and love and blessing and peace and joy into every single person today. Lord, that you would fill them to overflowing with the goodness of your heart and the goodness of this day, that they would see themselves in the opportunity of the day, that they get to do something awesome today, that they are alive, that life is good, that this day is good. And that, Father, we ask that all stress and anxiety would just be lifted and that they would see clearly from heaven's vantage point and know that you are still on the throne, Daddy, and that all is good. And we just love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Guys, thank you so much for joining us at the kitchen table. We're going to be back on Monday, and we're going to have another chat with a cup of coffee, same time, same place. And if you like what you're seeing and you want to learn more about health and wellness and what you can do on a daily basis, just join me at the Engaged Wellness Warriors Facebook group, where we're going to give tips and tricks every day on how you can be a wellness warrior and how you can engage with your own life. Ladies, I love you. This has been an amazing coffee hour for me. And thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to more coffee chats around the kitchen table.
So much fun. It was fun, ladies. Thank you. See you Monday.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us, everyone.